봤다고.
Hello and welcome to SquaredEyesT.V. Today we'll cover the sci-fi dystopian film Badland Hunters from the same brilliant mind that brought us the 2024 film The Roundup, Punishment. Although suffering from criticisms, this end-of-the-world movie is refreshing with its exceptionally graphic scenes, explosive action, superb acting, and stellar performances from a great cast, including actor Ma Dong-seok, also popularly known as Don Lee, who gained international popularity when he starred in the 2016 zombie film Train to Busan. Filled with action, comic relief, and a fierceness like no other, this movie is definitely something you won't want to miss.
간다.
If you liked the video, remember to hit like and subscribe. The story begins in a research lab where lead scientist Yang Gi-soo murders everyone after being caught doing barbaric experiments on human beings trying to fix his sick daughter. He quickly finishes the serum he was working on and runs back to his daughter Soyeon, who is unresponsive. When he's about to inject her with the serum, soldiers break down the door and hold him at gunpoint. He claims he has finally completed the serum and even went to inject himself with it. As they were about to detain him, the ground suddenly violently started shaking, and reports of a powerful earthquake were detected. With a magnitude 5.0 earthquake on the Richter scale, the deadly quake levels everything to the ground, causing buildings to collapse and topple down on each other. In the aftermath of the deadly earthquake, its survivors are forced to live in a dystopian world, scavenging for food and water. In a post-apocalyptic Seoul, Ji-won goes out into the wastelands hunting for food. He thought he saw movement out of the corner of his eye, but found a stray cat instead. Distressed over his bad luck, he continues searching when he comes across a feral crocodile by itself. And no, this is not the cute kind of crocodile you'd find in Peter Pan. He runs behind a car, starts a fire, and lights the arrowhead. He then slowly bids his time to aim and shoots it in the head. It squirmed for a while and eventually dropped dead. Or so he thought. He slowly approached to claim his prize when it suddenly woke up and turned its sights on him. I did not know crocodiles could play dead. Whoever taught it to do that deserves an Oscar. Anyway, the killer croc turns around and quickly charges at him. Did you see that thing run? In my head, I'm hearing Jenny shout, "Run, Forrest, run!"
Get you! Run, Forrest, run!
Well, Ji-won jumps into a car to escape from it, but it breaks through the windows and violently tries to bite him. Out of nowhere, wasteland hunter Nam-san comes to his rescue and pulls the feral reptile by its tail. It tried to fight back, but Nam-san quickly beheaded the creature. Fun fact, did you know that the director originally intended to show more familiar animals, like deer, but it was actor Don Lee's idea to change it to a crocodile. During shooting, they have an actual person play the role of the crocodile, mimicking its movements and making the scene more realistic. Somewhere in the wasteland, teenager Han Suna was working on her drawing when a cockroach passed by. Now that's one brave girl to brush it off casually. Even grown men scream at the sight of a cockroach, especially when it starts flying at you. Suna's grandmother, her last living relative, returns with water. Suna takes over and pours the dirty water over a filtration device. Still, nothing beats seeing Kevin Costner pour his own urine over a filtration device and drink it in the 1995 post-apocalyptic film Waterworld. Well, Suna's grandmother claims that she's grown tired of the dirty water and wonders if they could find a car and move in at the bus district, where there are more people. Suna explains how more people doesn't mean it's safer, and reminds her of when they were almost caught by cannibals. Back at the bus district, Nam-san and Ji-won set up a shop, bartering animal meat for anything they found useful. Going about their business, a striking woman in a fancy dress shows up and asks to trade a box full of jewelry for the crocodile's tail. Usually, it would have been more than enough, but in this post-apocalyptic world, one needs to be practical, to which Nam-san refuses her offer. On her way out, Nam-san hands her a snake for her troubles. She asks Ji-won if she should cook it, to which he yells at her that she should, given that it's a poisonous snake. I mean, whether it was poisonous or not, she should still cook it. Later, Suna and her grandmother show up, to which Ji-won claims they didn't have to bother, as he could have stopped by their house. Her grandmother claims it was no trouble getting to see Nam-san, who saved Suna years ago when everything started. Suna gives Nam-san her painting, which she was supposed to trade for food. It was a beautiful portrait of Nam-san hunting a deer. It looked like a scene from the TV show The Last of Us, with Joel hunting for food. Well, out of nowhere, some gangsters who claim to have come from a nearby police station show up. In the sketch they showed everyone, They explain how they're bounty hunters looking for a notorious villain. They start carting away people who slightly resemble the person in the sketch. Their leader is suddenly drawn to Suna and forces her to accompany them. Ji-won runs to her rescue but is beaten down when outnumbered. Nam-san breaks them up, but beats them when they don't stand down. Nam-san then orders them to leave and never return, to which they quickly run away after realizing who they're messing with. Fun fact, did you know that Lee Jun-young, who's playing Ji-won, used to be a singer and a dancer? That's why he's very coordinated when doing the action scenes. Even his co-star Don Lee was impressed and believed that he'd make an excellent action star. They later returned to find Suna and her grandmother approached by men in suits, promising them a comfortable life if they come with them. They claim to have secured food, clean water, and a safe place to live, which she describes as a safe haven, later known as the apartment. Unfortunately, the offer is only for Suna and her grandmother, explaining that they prioritize families with children below 20. Nam-san agrees, believing that this would be in Suna's best interest. They then immediately leave while they're still light, as they still have a long way ahead. Fun fact, did you know that the apartment is the same building that survived in the 2023 disaster film Concrete Utopia, and later turned into a headquarters in Badland Hunters? Although sharing the same apartment complex, Badland Hunters is actually not a direct sequel to Concrete Utopia, and both are considered standalone films. While Suna and the others finally arrive at the rendezvous point, meeting with another group from another direction. Suna's grandmother struggles to keep up with the group. The teacher who recruited them suggests that Mr. Choi escort her and the old man in the other group to the medical station to be treated while the others go ahead of them. They later met with the soldiers, who escorted them back to the apartment with the vehicles they'd brought. Meanwhile, Mr. Choi leads the old man and Suna's grandmother to a ravine. When they fail to read between the lines, the other guy pushes the old man while Mr. Choi stabs Suna's grandmother in the back. Ji-won, who was out with Nam-san to hunt, witnessed it and quickly rushed over. Mr. Choi starts shooting at them, but Nam-san deflects the bullet back at him. Wow. Just wow. And here I thought this only happens in cartoons. It would have been nice to see a Matrix moment when they tried to dodge the bullets, but that's just me. Well, Nam-san confronts Mr. Choi while Ji-won handles the other one. Just when they thought it was over, their enemy seemed immortal, surviving a bullet to the heart and a knife through the chest. They struggle to defeat them as they keep standing back up from grave injuries. Ji-won lures the other guy to a snare that they had set and thinks it's over, but the guy cuts his leg off to break free. Wow, dude had a knife, and instead of cutting the rope, he cuts his own leg off. Go figure. I wonder if he cut something else off, would it make it regrow into something bigger?
I am the one, the way your son.
Well, with their opponents refusing to stay down, a mysterious woman takes one of them down with a flying neck scissor takedown a la Black Widow. She then stabs it in the neck, to which Nam-san cuts off the other guy's head clean off. The mysterious woman introduces herself as Special Forces Sergeant Lee Eun-ho. She claims she knows Nam-san and asks for his help rescuing her associates and the apartment residence where Suna was taken. On the day of the Great Earthquake, her team saw the devastation from the sky. They started rescue operations and searched for survivors, where they came across an apartment that didn't collapse. They were lucky to find an aquifer, providing a bountiful supply of clean water. Everything was going well until the day he arrived, Professor Yang Gi-soo. Another fun fact, did you know that An Ji-hye, playing the role of Lee Eun-ho, did her own action scenes without the help of a stunt double? While being the only doctor that they have since the tragedy, they couldn't turn him away. They later realized it was a mistake when she discovers about the horrendous experiments he's been doing. When she confronted him about the missing children, it turned out that her supervisor, Master Sergeant Kwon, was in on it. He even went on to demonstrate the results of their sinister experiments by shooting a soldier and having him come back from it unscathed. Well, instead of being convinced to join them, she only saw the horror. She tried to take them out, but was instead sent running away with her life. Noticing a bottle of clean water on the dead soldiers, Nam-san recognizes them to be the same bottled water that the gangsters carried with them. Acquainted with the leader of these degenerate hoodlums, Nam-san goes to Spaland to meet Tiger, their leader. They later run into them, who are in the middle of a falling out with another group. It turns out that Tiger was Nam-san's former boxing rival before the apocalypse. Tiger orders his men to attack Nam-san, but he beats them all down with a single punch, which makes him One Punch Man, a reference to the anime show. Here's another fun fact. Did you know that the actor Don Lee, playing Nam-san in the movie, once commented on how boxing is his life? He explains how it was where he came from and is still deeply rooted. Now, before he turned to acting, he was the personal trainer of mixed martial artists Kevin Randleman and Mark Coleman. His rich history in sports would explain his exceptional performance as a well-renowned action star. Well, after defeating Tiger and his men, Namsan has them lined up for interrogation. Either they refuse to snitch on their boss, or they have no clue about it. Namsan knocks them out one by one. Tiger explains how he makes the deals with the apartment. And, like other gangs, they give them what they want in exchange for clean drinking water. At first, they ask them to bring all kinds of people, but recently, they've been very particular, demanding children and teenagers. The next day, Suna's group finally arrives at the apartment where Dr. Yang Gisu greets the new members. He gave a grand speech about how their children are humankind's hope and future. Later, the teacher informs the families of the new recruits that students will be living on the 8th floor. Juye's parents worry that they won't be able to see their daughter, but the teacher reassures them that they'll only need to schedule an appointment if they wish to see their daughter. Afterward, the parents are taken to the basement, where they will work, along with the others, filtering the drinking water. Suna and Juye start their first day at class. Suna notices all the students have wounds or bandages over their neck. I suspect this has something to do with Dracula. Well,
Show yourself, Satan! Mock me not with your strange luminance.
during class, soldiers come in and hand out food and water to the students, but Suna notices something peculiar in the water. Before she could even ask about it, Gisu shows up in class to formally welcome their new students. He walks up to Juye, who seems excited to help the doctor with his so-called life-changing research. Thrilled by her enthusiasm, he tells her that he'll have someone get her for a consultation later. Well, later that night, Suna sneaks out of her room once everyone's asleep. She then sneaks into Dr. Gisu's lab, suspicious about everything. Meanwhile, Juye's parents insist on seeing their daughter. When they don't give up, they ask Gisu to explain it. Gisu takes them back to his lab, where they find their daughter on a table hooked to a device. They start to panic when they see her unconscious, to which Gisu explains that they're extracting a fluid that's only present in teenagers. He urged them not to move her, or they'll put her life in danger. When that wasn't enough to convince them, Gisu shows them his daughter. Rather, the upper half of his daughter, suspended in a glass container. The reputable doctor immediately becomes the crazy scientist and has gone cuckoo. Horrified, they try to wake Juye, but instead she starts convulsing and dies. Furious for losing a critical specimen, Gisu stabs the father, while Sergeant Guan shoots the mother. Gisu later finds Suna sneaking into his lab. The next day, Namsan and the others arrive to the apartment with Tiger, pretending to deliver a shipment of people. The guards grow suspicious as it's not a scheduled delivery, so Namsan drops their cover and breaks through the gates. They force their way inside and break into the basement to free Uno's friends. Ji-won found it suspicious that no one was pursuing them. When they break into the locked room, Uno finds her team, who's become rabid mutant soldiers as a result of the doctor's failed experiments. These mindless creatures have them outnumbered, but even then, they managed to defeat them all. And here I was, about to suggest bringing in plants to defeat the zombies.
Wait a minute!
Did you know that when Namsan stormed into the apartment, his jacket had the STARS logo from the popular Resident Evil franchise? It makes you wonder if this was simply a coincidence or something else. Well, refusing to give up, they later find themselves cornered in all directions. That was badass when Namsan timed his attack for when the grenade was about to explode. Hands down, it's the best takedown in this movie. With that said, he tells Ji-won to go ahead and find Suna while he keeps the soldiers busy. Out of bullets, Namsan is rearing to go melee on them, but struggles to pull a knife from his back. Ooh, I can't hold back anymore. I have to say that Namsan looks like the character Bob from the game Tekken 7. Okay, got that out of my system. Well, with more soldiers on the way, Uno tells Ji-won to proceed while she handles their pursuers. After taking them all down, she comes face to face with Sergeant Guan. Although a skilled fighter, Uno doesn't stand a chance against Guan, who has super regenerative abilities. He knocks her out, but not before she outsmarts him and stabs his left eye. Ji-won later finds the classroom and threatens the teacher to show him where Suna is being held. Before he left, he urged the students to go and see their families. On his way to the lab, they run into Master Sergeant Guan, but Namsan also arrives, coming from a different direction. He tells Ji-won to go ahead while he handles things here. Finally, the fight we've all been waiting for. They duke it out in a battle of strength, landing heavy blows on each other. Namsan overpowers him and tries to throw him over the window, but he clings tightly to him. Frustrated, Namsan beheads him using the shattered glass over the window. After extracting the fluid from Suna, Gisu injects himself with a serum and claims to have completed it. As he's celebrating his breakthrough with his rather dead daughter in the glass container, Suna tells him that saving his daughter is pointless, as he's bound to reap what he sows. Gisu was impressed that Suna was still conscious even after the extraction. When he was about to silence Suna, he suddenly felt strange, as his body started to mutate. And no, this is not Silence of the Lambs. She explains how she never drank the water they gave her, meaning the serum he created created did not have the regenerative effects he had hoped it had. Ji-won walks in on the doctor, who's about to kill Suna for what she did to him, but a soldier knocks Ji-won to the ground before he can do anything. Worried that they're compromised, Gisu packs up and stuffs the glass container carrying his daughter in a suitcase. As they were leaving, they ran into Namsan, who stopped them. Gisu escapes through the fire exit with the suitcase while throwing a grenade at the weakened teacher. When he makes it outside, he's stopped by the parents, who discover the horrific experiments he's been doing on their children. They beat him up and kick him when he's down. Gisu has had enough, so he scares them away, giving him time to grab a rifle lying on the ground. He starts shooting at them in a frenzy, but when he runs out of bullets, he later realizes that he's hit the suitcase. Namsan saves Ji-won and Suna from the burning room. Determined to make Gisu responsible for every atrocious thing that he's done, they split up to search for him, worried that he may escape. When they're stuck in a shootout, Suna distracts Gisu long enough for Namsan to get a clear shot of him. With the battle against Gisu and his followers over, Namsan and the others celebrate their victory. It seems the heavens are celebrating with them by blessing them with rain. Everyone's happy, as it's not rained in the wasteland for several months. Namsan brings Suna to pay her respects to her grandmother, whom they buried in a field. Namsan, Ji-won, and Suna return to the bus district. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, remember to hit like and subscribe. Make sure to tap that bell icon to be notified about our latest videos. Until then, we'll see you next time.